Hello and welcome. I personally have picked up quite a few tips from the gun clubs and online, so hopefully this helps a few of you. Certainly it might make things a bit clearer for some people. What's happened here with the little Mito is it's been passed in the air. I don't know if anyone else has experienced the problem, but once it's fired there's a hissing sound heard out the chamber, so obviously the internal valve at the end of the hammer is leaking, so I'm going to have to investigate that. But I thought it might be a good time just to let everyone follow the strip down for this. The Mito is not really a hard instrument to work on. It's fairly easy, but I'll explain a couple of things that might help you. First of all, get a handle off. It did bewilder me at the side. There's a little slot on the side. You just push a slotted screwdriver into that little slot and the base pops off, so that allows access to the two screws that hold the handle in place. I've already taken them out for speed. This one is inside the handle. Now, be very careful with that because it's easy to damage that. It's at an angle, so you have to use the proper T-bar to release the screw that's in there. And likewise, the small one, which is located here, at the bottom of the gun, it's already out as well, and these two hold the handle in place fairly easy, I think, but be careful with that one. You get the angle right and use a light down inside so that you can actually see that you've entered the Allen key, or you'll strip it. Very easy. So once the two screws are out, it's just a simple matter of pulling the handle off, so put it to the side. And that leaves the gun's already been stripped down, but I'm just showing you the process. I hope it will help a few people. The cylinder, dealing with the cylinder, this one's empty, so there's no problem. But if you're going to take it off, run it down to at least 100 bar. Don't try it any higher or you'll damage the threads and the seal when you're taking off, and it'll be very, very tight. When it's empty, it's quite easy to remove. Although I've heard some people say they are difficult to unscrew in the first place. Mine was like that. I eventually had to use a pair of mole grips with a cloth insert so that I could actually get the thing to move. It just simply unscrews anti-clockwise. If yours has got 100 bar in it, you'll get to a certain point. It'll be very tight to that point, and you'll hear a hissing. At that point, you'll find that the cylinder eases off, and you can simply remove that. It's best done when it's empty, to be honest, but it can be done. I have done it myself with 100 bar in there, but it becomes a wee bit heavier to manipulate. So that's basically you down to the regulator at that point. If I bring this up, you'll see I've already taken them out. I've left one just to hold it in place. I think they're 2.5mm Allen keys, either four of them, and they are tight. So be very, very careful that you insert your Allen key properly. 2.5, they're actually 3mm. So be careful and get a proper T-bar to loosen these, or you might damage the heads. So once they're loosened, it's fairly straightforward just to remove these. I'll just take the last screw out. So, now again, you want to mark this regulator. So this one has a little air hole on the bottom. I'll bring up the camera, let you see. I use that as the guide mark. And be careful when you're removing it, because it holds in a little spring retainer on the valve at the back of the hammer, so that can shoot out when you take this off. Be careful. Yours is probably stuck in, so to get the regulator off, just a simple pull. It's on a no-ring seal, so just a nice gentle manoeuvre on it, and it should come clean off. Now that's the little bit there that causes it, but be careful. That's not held in with anything. It's a push-fit rubber seal. There is a little threaded rod there if you're having difficulty. I use the handle screw out of curiosity. It fits it to extract it, but it's got a spring at the back, so it is liable to shoot off. So to make things easier to get that out, you want to take the actual shroud off. There are two bolts, two Allen keys one either end. Again, just loosen these off and you should be able to. There's no safety bolts on these, so it's not a problem. And the other thing to bear in mind is release the silencer thread at the end, so that when you come to redo it, it will seal properly against the actual barrel. So if you do these two screws, and then you should be able to slide your shroud off. There you're down basically the basic little gun as far as I'm concerned. Now, I've watched a video on this before at the back, the hammer here, the hammer adjuster at the back. I watched a video of this screw, a guy tried to adjust his with that screw still in place. Now, that's a safety bolt in the original form. You need to take that out. That's definitely got to go first. It has a little barb on the top, so what you have to do is use a little grinder head, about 2mm, and grind the barb off before you try to drill it. And the drilling's best done in a bench drill, or you're going to do some damage. So going in a bit with a reverse 2mm drill into the existing screw, and then it usually comes free if it's a reverse drill. You can use an extractor if it's still tight, and then it's replaced by this little grub screw. You'll need to have a pack of these in hand before you get underway with these. So let's get the size right. Sizes always get confused with these sizes. So, and once you don't lose this thing, I've already lost it today. The tiny wee things, just take it enough to let the hammer screw actually turn. So once you get to that point, you can remove the hammer adjuster cap. Yeah, that's fine, and we can remove the actual spring. Now this one has been replaced. You'll get a shock when you actually take these out, because it's a cut bloody spring that they've got in the original Mitos. So I purchased these. Any you need help where to get that, just give me a shout. There's a problem with this. I'm going to point the problem out. When the hammer itself, if you can see in there, there's very little distance left. When that spring, when you actually cock the weapon and pull the hammer back, there's very little distance left. So the spring has to be the exact size and dimension, or what you'll find, it won't actually cock. It won't. The lock for the trigger won't go in because this spring's fully compressed. So it's one to bear in mind. And again, once you replace that spring, it's going to increase the foot per second on your weapon. So you're going to have to be careful. You'll have to use a chronograph just to make sure that you're not breaking the law. So that's the spring itself. If you just get in touch with me if you want a replacement for these. So at that point, that's us get the hammer. Let's see now. The hammer, just get that out. There we go. So the hammer. Seen inside, you can see. I don't know, it'll be very difficult for you to see. I should really have another light, but so the hammer removes. Now let's go to the front. To get to this little valve, now that comes in from the regulator through the entry point at the bottom there, and then up to the sealing valve. To get to that, this is a little cap. Now be careful with that because it can spring out, as I said. So watch it doesn't shoot out on you because there's a spring at the back of this. This is interestingly enough, the handle screw is probably the way to deal with this. Just insert that in. It's a wee bit fidgy because of the barrel. There we go. And at that point, you can just give it a little wiggle and it will come out, and I'll let you see it. It's a little sealed cap, but the spring is at the back. There we go. And that then allows us to get Yeah, so once you've removed the spring, put your finger over the actual exit and insert your arm kit and give the little valve a tap, and you'll find it just it falls out. There we are. Now you see. So that's the thing. Obviously, seals on the port. It's at the base of this. Sorry for my bad filming, but I'm sure this will be of help. Right at the bottom, it's inserted in. It's a little taper thing. Now this one, I think the problem with this gun is that seal has got a little barb halfway down it. It's not entirely smooth and flat, so I have ordered a replacement for this. So that's due basically from the hammer assembly to the regulator valve to the cylinder. I don't know if that helps anybody, but it might make it easier for you when you're taking off. As I say, you're going to encounter this anti-tamper screw. They're pain, but we bench with a proper grinder on it and a proper drill bit in it. They're not too bad to actually remove. Mine fell out once it was drilled, and I'm quite sure that's quite common. So what we're going to do now is get the replacements for this little valve, and hopefully it's going to solve this intermittent air leak problem that I've got. So can I go back to the hammer spring as well? The hammer spring, because there's very little room left in the chamber, you're going to have to, the replacements have to be polished on the surface. They actually have to, the end lug on each side of the spring has to be actually ground off so that the spring is perfectly flat, and that will allow the spring to go in the cap, the adjuster cap, to actually go back to its original position. If you don't do that, you'll find that the cap's left proud, and that will interfere with the handle when it's put on. So these things, hopefully they help. I'll follow this up with a rebuild on this, but I hope that helps. If anybody's any questions, want to help, I'm not the best at this, but I'm sure it's nice to see it. Be careful, as I say, when you're removing the regulator, because this little cap is spring loaded at the back, so it did in my case shoot out and disappeared into the floor, so it's something you could lose easy, so be very careful. And at that point you can obviously clean the internal, blow out all the internals in the gun before you proceed any further. I also suspect that this little sealing valve here is obviously on a seat at the base of this hole when it's dropped in, and I think what I'm going to do here is polish that seat as well. It may well have a little imperfection on it that's cutting into this seal and causing that intermittent air problem, but we will see. Anyway, there you go. So we hope that helps.